Hi guys, so I'm going to work through this chapter 1 review with you. Now the first thing we should do is notice our given information. So I'll remind you guys how to mark this in the diagram so that you don't forget about it. It says O is the midpoint of segment BE. So remember we could indicate that on the diagram here by putting these little dash marks. Since O is the midpoint, we know that BO is going to be congruent to OE. Okay, it also tells us angle BOC is congruent to COD. Now the way we mark that on a diagram is by making those little angle signs. So BOC, that's that angle, so put a little angle sign on that, is congruent to COD. So COD, I want to put a little angle sign on that too. Okay, so now we're ready to start our problems. Problem 1 asks us to name an angle bisector. We know from the definition of an angle bisector that an angle bisector must be cutting an angle into two congruent pieces. So the only two congruent pieces I see are these two angles, BOC and COD. So what that tells me is of this big angle, BOD, it's the one getting bisected. The angle bisector is this piece right here that's cutting it into two pieces. So we would name that as ray OC. Okay? Going on to number 2 now. They want us to name a ray that is opposite to OA. So remember, to be an opposite ray, it has to start from the same endpoint of O, but point in the opposite direction to make it look like a straight line. So OA is going this way. Okay, we want the one that's pointing in the exact opposite direction, which would be here. The only possible name for that is OD. Okay, so just remember that definition of opposite rays. They have to share the vertex in common, and that is the only, they have to share that endpoint, in common, and that's the only point they have in common, pointing exactly opposite ways to make a straight line. Okay, number 3 says the length of AO, remember that's what it means when it doesn't have a symbol above it, so the length from A to O plus the length from O to D is going to equal this whole distance from A to D. So we want to fill in with AD there. Okay. Going on to number 4. Number 4 says if the measure of angle COB equals 80, okay, so that's what we want to fill in here. Okay, so COB is 80. They want us to find COE. So what I need you guys to notice is when I put COB right next to COE, they are forming the entire side of that straight line. So they have to be adding up to 180 together. So to find the measure of COE, if we used up 80 degrees already, we just do 180 minus 80. So there have to be 100 left for COE. Okay, number 5 asks us to name two congruent segments. Now remember, you're not allowed to go just by, oh, those two kind of look the same length. We have to go by the fact that they told us O is the midpoint of BE. So the only two that we know have to be congruent are BO and OE. Okay? So BO congruent to OE is what I'm looking for there. Okay? Number 6 asks me simply to name an angle that appears to be obtuse. There are a lot of different options here. I'll try and list all of them for you. So you could list angle AOE. You could have chose angle AOC. You could have chose angle BOD. Or you could have picked angle COE. And now remember, if I have AOE and you have EOA written on your paper, same angle, so you got it correct. Okay, going on now, we are choosing between different options here. We can pick true, false. False is if we clearly can see that the statement is not true. There is no way it's true. Or cannot be determined. I'm just going to put CBD for that. That's if we can't tell from the diagram whether it has to be true or not. Now we're given this diagram and we're given this statement underneath it that says O is the midpoint of WZ. So just like before, I want to mark that in my diagram. The way I show in my diagram that O is the midpoint is I mark WO congruent to OZ. Okay, so let's read through these now. Number 7 says angle WOX is a right angle. Okay? The correct answer to this problem is cannot be determined. Okay? It does not have a right angle box on it, so I don't want to put true. The only time you would put true for that is if it actually had the right angle box on it. We can't assume just because it looks like a right angle that it is. Okay? You don't want to put false though, because I can't clearly see that it is not a right angle either. Okay, the only time I would know that it really wasn't a right angle is if I could see that it was a straight angle. Because if they look like a straight line, we are allowed to assume they are a straight angle. Okay, going on to number 8. It says WO, the length from W to O, equals the length from O to Z. That is true. Okay, because we were told that O is the midpoint of WZ. So that means that those lengths there are going to be the same. They're going to be congruent and have the same length. Okay, number 9 says OW is congruent to OX. Okay, what we want to put for that one, again, is cannot be determined. It looks kind of like it might be the same length, but it doesn't have a marking on it to tell me that it is the same length. Okay, I also can't clearly see that it's not the same length either. So I just put cannot be determined. I can't tell based on the information they gave me. Okay, number 10 says WOX and XOZ are adjacent angles. So yes, that one is true. Remember the definition of adjacent is that they share the same vertex and they share a side in common without overlapping on top of each other. No common interior points. So yes, those meet that WOX and XOZ. They share vertex at O and they share side OX. So that is true. Okay, XOY is a straight angle in number 11. Okay, I can clearly see that that is not a straight angle. So we are allowed to put false on that one. Okay, it does not look like a straight line at all. Okay, number 12. Angle XOY is congruent to YOZ. Sure looks like it might be, but are there any angle markings here telling me that it has to be? Was I told that OY was the bisector of this angle? No. So I can't put true because I don't know for sure that they are the same. I also can't put false because I don't know that it's false. I would be able to put false if it had degree measures, like 40 here and 50 here. Then I would for sure know they were not the same. But I can't tell. So this is another one of those cannot be determined. Okay? Number 13, points W, O, and Y are collinear. Let's look at them. W, O, Y. No, I can clearly see that those are not collinear. They are not lying on one line, so that is false. Okay, moving on to these ones at the bottom of the page where we needed to solve. They are both looking at this diagram. So I'll do the first one, number 14, in this pink pen, and then I'll do number 15 in a different color pen to differentiate for you guys. Okay, let's label the information they gave us here. It tells me LM is equal to x plus 2. Now that's talking about the length from L to M. It tells me MN, so the length from N to N, is 2x minus 6. Okay, it also tells me LN, the whole thing, is 20. Okay, so what I'm going to be using here is our segment addition postulate. So I'll show my work for number 14 right here. I know that when I add this piece LM plus this piece MN, it has to be giving me the total length from L to N. So my equation is going to say x plus 2 plus 2x minus 6 equals 20. From here, it's just a matter of algebra. So let's combine our like terms. So x and 2x, that's going to be 3x, plus 2 minus 6, that's going to be minus 4, still equal to 20. Go ahead and add the 4 to both sides. Okay, so 3x is going to be equal to 24, so x must be equal to 8. Okay, so that's how you do number 14. Let's take a look at number 15 now. So 15 I'm going to do in this green pen so you don't get the two problems confused. Number 15 says if the measure of angle 2 equals 2x, okay, so I'm talking about this angle here, and the measure of angle 1 here is 4x, I want to try and find x. Now, does everybody see how angle 1 and angle 2 put together? They're forming the entire top side of that straight line. That means we know they must add up to 180. So my equation for number 15 is going to say 2x plus 4x equals 180. Go ahead and combine your like terms. So 2x plus 4x gives us 6x equals 180. Divide by the 6. So x must be 30. Okay, I hope that has helped to clear up any confusion you guys were having on this. And if not, remember, you can ask me in class tomorrow. Okay.